Doom the Dark Ages is basically Doom, but with a shield. And as you guys may or may not be aware, I am somewhat of a shield enjoyer. Shields up iron breakers and all of that good stuff, am I right? So naturally, when I watched the first trailer for Doom the Dark Ages, I was instantly in. Seeing Doomslayer pick up a shield, throwing it Captain America style, shield bashing people in the face, revving it up like a friggin' chainsaw, it just looked so incredibly badass. I like when games make use of shields as actual weapons for bashing and throwing and doing all these things, because quite simply there's not that many games that do shield justice as a weapon. And Doom the Dark Ages absolutely does that. So naturally, when the game released, depending on your time zone, either a little bit earlier yesterday or this morning or whatever, I picked it up, and I picked up the premium edition because naturally, this being a Microsoft game, they're going to do the scumbag tactic that I always call out that I don't like. That is to give people a couple of days of early access, when in reality it's not really early access. You're paying to play the game on release because the date of today is the official release date, and the 15th of May is the release date for people that are not willing to shell out for the premium version of the game. Never gonna like that particular practice, but it is what it is. A lot of people stand by it for whatever reason, and they even defend it fervently like they did with Diablo 4 here in the channel, but you know, it is what it is. So I went ahead and I played it. We did a little live stream earlier today. There's like 4 hours of gameplay if you guys want to check that out. There's a lot of set pieces in there, like when we pilot the Mecha Doom guy, not exactly sure how to refer to that one, or when we fly with a dragon and do all of those crazy shenanigans. That was a ton of fun. There's a lot of really cool set pieces in this game. There's a lot of really cool action in this game. And there's a lot of things to actually enjoy here. So, as per usual, whenever I'm doing a first impressions video or something along those lines, I like to talk about visuals to begin with. And I think that this game's visuals are absolutely phenomenal. As a matter of fact, in my live stream, I didn't really take full advantage of the graphical fidelity because I didn't want it to fiddle with the settings too much, because I just wanted to get a stream started and show you guys some gameplay. So the quality that you guys are watching now should be at least a little bit better than the quality of what you guys watched on stream, because I actually had more time to fiddle with the settings and check some stuff out and whatnot and get rid of that god-awful film grain that some people continue to, you know, blatantly bake into games for some strange reason. But luckily, at least here, we can actually just turn that crap off, which is something that I hadn't really noticed during stream, because I was like, man, there's just something off. There's just something that I don't like about it. Was the film grain that was on. I hate it. And the film grain of this game is actually a friggin' slider. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a, like, little rant here, but yeah, so anyway, after tweaking the settings around quite a bit, I'm able to play with mostly, I think, almost everything maxed out. We are using FSR upscaling at quality because I just feel like upscaling, unfortunately, is the new standard that we have to live by, despite the fact that I'm playing with a 7900 XTX. Nowadays, I don't even try not doing upscaling because usually it just goes to crap. Although maybe I should try it later or whatever, but you know, it's running fine like this. I think the game looks absolutely phenomenal. In terms of animations, they're really, really good. The cinematics are not as impressive as I would have expected, but at the end of the day, when you're playing Doom, do you really care that much about cinematics or story, which is another aspect that I'm not really going to touch up on, mostly because people probably don't want to get spoiled for what the story is, but at the same time, a majority of people aren't really going to come to Doom for the story. You're coming here for the action, the boomer shooter action that you're getting, right? So visual-wise, I think it's running pretty good. Again, I do have a 7900 XTX, so your mileage may vary depending on your hardware. I took a brief look at the Digital Foundry analysis. They were saying it's running at 60 FPS on both consoles. You know, Xbox Series S obviously suffering a little bit more than the rest of them because it's lagging behind in terms of hardware. But you know, you can watch their analysis there if you want to get like a full spectrum for all the consoles. But you know, from that perspective, everything was pretty good. In terms of sound, these gun sounds, the melee sounds, all of that stuff sounds phenomenal. In terms of music, though, it just doesn't hit the same. Now, I should mention that I only really played the original Doom. I never really played Doom Eternal, and one of the reasons I didn't play Doom Eternal is actually really dumb. It was that stupid trailer they did with mumble rap. That turned me off so hard that I was like, wow, really? You have like the talent of Mick Gordon, and you're gonna make your trailer with friggin' mumble rap. Like, what is actually wrong with your marketing department, bro? But yeah, that trailer like completely turned me off. And then eventually that was that whole mix-up with Mick Gordon and whatnot. I don't know. I just got like bad vibes from Doom Eternal, and I ended up never really playing it. But I did play the original, and now I'm playing the Dark Ages because it's got a shield and all that, and I like that stuff. And yeah, the music just doesn't hit the same as the original. Now, I've heard that there's like a different artist that is working on tracks and stuff like that. So maybe some people will like it more. To me, it's more one of those things where in the first one, it felt like the music was in sync with the actions that you were performing in the game. Like there was a great deal of care that was put into that aspect of the game. I mean, there's a reason why so many people still look at that OST as one of the best OSTs in gaming nowadays, right? Doom 2016, everybody knows it. And the reality is this one just doesn't quite hit the same. As a matter of fact, there were plenty of times that I was even in the middle of the action, slashing through demons, blasting them open, shield bashing them with my shield, and the track just was not keeping up with the things that I was doing. And I was like, oh man, that's kind of disappointing. So that's probably my biggest disappointment with Doom the Dark Ages, and probably my biggest criticism is the soundtrack. And I think that's also because of the standard that they set with the original Doom. That's pretty much where stuff is for me. Like I said, in terms of story, hasn't really grabbed me all that much. I think that the plot at the moment, because I haven't finished the game yet, it feels fairly basic, but we'll see how it trugs along. But in terms of gameplay, that is definitely where it excels. From the moment that you're jumping into the game and you start shooting your gun, blocking with your shield, and doing all of these crazy actions that you can do as the Doomslayer, it just felt absolutely phenomenal. Now, I should point out that the first time that I watched the trailer for Doom the Dark Ages, my impressions were that the shield was probably going to be some like weapon that you pick up at some point during the campaign, and that weapon will have some type of a cooldown to it or some type of a charge system, because usually that's how things work in Doom, right? You have like with your really strong attacks, there's going to be either charges or some type of ammunition associated with it. So I was thinking, oh, maybe the chainsaw mode has like a fuel thing or something like that, right? That was my impression going into it. And so I was very pleasantly surprised that there's no limits of any kind as to the things that you can do with the shield, at least up until the point that I've played, which I was like, wait, what? So you can just block. Now, naturally, you can't block everything forever, particularly if you're playing on Nightmare, which is what I'm playing at. I'll talk about the difficulties a little bit further ahead. But basically, there's no limit, so you can block stuff. There's going to be like a gauge that starts dwindling down as you start blocking, because it's not intended for you to just have block all the time. You're supposed to block a couple of key attacks, and then you're supposed to parry others. So they've introduced the parry system, and as you guys know, I like parry systems. Those are cool, so I'm parrying as many things as I possibly can. And the parry is very, very lenient, because you're meant to be able to parry attacks that are coming in the middle of like waves of 10 plus demons, sometimes 20 plus demons. So they're very clearly marked, usually in green, telling you, okay, here comes an attack that you can parry, and you want to parry that. And the parry window is very, very generous. So it's not, and again, this is playing on Nightmare difficulty, so if you go on lower difficulties, it's probably even easier. And there's also the whole customizable difficulty thing that you can kind of like make that be even easier. But I feel like they're just pretty lenient off the bat. So that is another thing that is cool, because, you know, you're juggling demons, you're running around, because this is a boomer shooter. This is not the type of cover-based shooter that we see nowadays, the modern type assault rifle shooter. This ain't it. This is a boomer shooter, okay? Think Quake. Okay, for those of you that maybe never played Doom, whoever hasn't played Doom, right? Think Quake back in the day, which is the thing that, you know, I used to play Quake back in the day, particularly Quake 3 in my college days. That was like our take a break from study game. We would all get together and play some Quake. So this type of game is something that I really appreciate. This type of shooting style is something that I really appreciate. And you're going to be, you know, juggling, running around, doing all of, not by juggling, not, I don't mean like aerial juggling, I mean like juggling what you are attacking and all of these things. And you're going to be running around all over the place and trying to dodge attacks while trying to kill things and trying to recover health, because it's always kind of like a struggle. You're always struggling to be recovering your health, recovering ammunition, recovering all of these things while you're killing these demons. And then in the middle of all that, you're going to be expected to parry with your shield, which is cool. Now, parrying and blocking is not the only thing that you can do. You can also throw your shield. Throwing your shield, also very satisfying, particularly after you get the chainsaw upgrade, because you can throw the shield against enemies, and it kind of stucks there and CCs enemies. So that gives you big openings for you to actually dish out damage. Now, this doesn't work on everything. There's a couple of champion-type enemies and boss fights and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to CC those naturally, but there are still interactions with shields when you are fighting those guys. So there's parrying, blocking, throwing the shield. There's shield charges, and some enemies can only be damaged by shield charges. So basically you pull up the block thing, and then you select a target, you left click on the mouse, and you just kind of like charge with your shield, bash them in the face. Very, very, very satisfying. There's also a melee system that goes with this, and naturally as you shoot enemies, you're going to like eventually stun them, and you get to do the melee finishers, and those usually also give you a ton of health back. So that's kind of like how you're going to be navigating things. You're going to be killing a bunch of enemies, and as you kill them, you're going to be getting your life back, and you're going to just kind of like repeat the cycle. Now there's a wide variety of weapons. There's shotguns, there's like this cell type of pistol that you get that shoots these blue balls and whatever. There's a scatter gun type thing, which is the skull grinder or whatever. I actually don't like that one because it scatters a little bit too much, which I get. It's for, you know, killing like large swaths of enemies, but I just like throwing my shield at those and chopping them all up in half. So I usually do with the shield. And that's the other thing. There's like this upgrade system that you get that allows you to really like min-max different aspects of your shield. So as you guys can imagine, I've been leveling up the shield to the nth degree. So in the gameplay that you guys are watching, you're going to be seeing me throw the shield all the time because that's just kind of like my thing. I throw the shield all over the place, slashes everybody up, and gives me openings to kill stuff and whatnot. That is the way that I like to play. Now, there's also a weapon that is in there right now, and I don't know if it's because I'm still in the early levels, but this weapon feels completely busted. And it's this weapon that fires like a stake type of thing, which I forget what the name of that one is. Sorry about that. I forget what the name of that one is, but it shoots out a stake, and it's got like this arcing shot, and it only has 10 rounds, but it deals a ton of damage. But the really cool thing is that you can upgrade it so that whenever you use your shield throw against something, it drops ammunition for that weapon. Then there's another upgrade. Whenever you pick up ammunition for that weapon, it supercharges the damage of the weapon. When you put these two things together, when you have me that's been upgrading the shield like a maniac, and you have this weapon that is going to be constantly dropping ammo for this weapon, so you don't have to worry about running out of ammo. And it's also a weapon that deals a crap ton of damage. And I have a shield to CC enemies. Yeah, I basically don't really use other weapons all that much, and throughout the gameplay that you've been watching in this video, you will notice that I'm swapping between weapons, and it seems like I'm struggling because I don't even know how to play with the other weapons all that much. Because I just play with the friggin' stake driver, and it's like, yep, just shoot this thing, deals tons of damage, gives me lots of openings, friggin' instant stun on enemies, perfect, love it. And yeah, I don't know if maybe they'll eventually end up nerfing that or not, because it just feels like the other weapons can't really compete with that one at the moment. But maybe that'll change. Now the upgrade system, I haven't even unlocked the rune system yet, which there's an additional system that is going to change the way that certain things work. But right now, the action just feels very visceral, very satisfying, and I personally really, really enjoy it. Now, the thing here is, I'm only familiar with the original Doom, and even then, this was like, friggin' what, 9 years ago now when that Doom came out, so I barely remember anything. So I don't know if, like, things changed drastically between this and Doom Eternal and all of that stuff. I'm not going to be able to compare too much with the previous two games. But I'll be curious to hear from you guys in the comment section, from the stuff that you're watching in gameplay and the stuff that you've seen from other streamers. How do you feel in terms of the gameplay and all that good stuff? Personally, I really like it, and I think the set pieces are really cool. Like the flying the dragon moment, that was cool. The mechanics of that were cool, even if a little bit unintuitive at the beginning, and I still fumbled quite a bit to get like the perfect dodges of the dragon going and all of that stuff. And there's also the Mecha Doom Guy thing, which the Mecha Doom Guy thing, it just felt incredibly easy. I don't know if there maybe is a different section later down the line that's going to be more challenging than the first time that you do it. We'll see. But while we're on it, let's talk about difficulty real quick. One of my concerns about this game was that because of the fact that it has the whole difficulty thing where you can like really tweak all of the settings and do all of that, I was concerned that it was going to be kind of like rough for them to do a proper challenging experience, because usually when you go down that route, like my experience with most games is that it kind of ruins the difficulty of them, because you're going to struggle to find like that good point where things feel challenging and they still push back on you without being completely overbearing and bullet sponges. And I kind of feel like on Nightmare difficulty, it felt just right for me, so it gives me enough pushback that I've died a couple of times and had to like restart certain sections, which is what I want. But not enough pushback to the point where I feel like it's completely insurmountable, or I feel like an enemy is just like this massive bullet sponge that just nothing is getting through to him. Maybe later down the line I'll regret that, and maybe things will get different, but my initial plan was to jump into Nightmare mode and then bumping it down to Ultra Violence if it felt too hard. But so far, Nightmare mode feels great, and there's 2 additional difficulty levels above Nightmare mode, but they don't really change like monster behavior, monster aggression, or monster damage. The changes there is like the limitations in your respawn, so they kind of work like hardcore runs, 2 different levels of hardcore runs, where one gives you the chance to kind of like restart the chapter if you have like a sigil thing, and the other one gives you a chance to, actually doesn't give you a chance, once you die, you're done. So I was like, I'm not interested in doing any of these variations of hardcore runs, I just want like the maximum challenge, and Nightmare mode's been working pretty okay for that, but obviously I'll want to play more in order to get a really good grasp on it and see how I feel about it by the end. But so far, I'm really pleased with it. Now, whether or not it's worth the price that I paid for it was like $110 or something like that, which, make no mistake, it's mostly for content. If I was just playing, picking it up just to play or whatever, I probably would have picked up the cheaper version or even picked it up on sale or something like that, because 110 bones, bro, that's a lot of friggin' money for a video game. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on Doom: The Dark Ages. I think it's a ton of fun. I think if you like the type of boomer shooters that have the type of gameplay that you guys are watching in the background, you're probably going to enjoy this one. But, yeah, let me know in the comment section how you feel about it and all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.